Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.2.2, where I am attempting to make Kerbals a multiplanetary species. In this case, by hurling a tremendous amount of hardware at it. So, we continue our missions in progress, of which we have a grand total of 5. We have a science hopper headed out there with our 3 intrepid expeditionary Kerbals headed to be the hands that set up the base. We have a base lander, which actually has a lot of the major colony modules. We have a crane that is coming, an automated crane module. We have a colony box, which is literally a gigantic container full of bits and bobs that we're going to be using to actually assemble the base. And finally, we have some horizontal modules, which are the larger power module and the even larger agricultural support module, which we are going to need to do all the processing. But first, let's get into orbit around Minmus. Alright, so we are here with the Minmus hopper, which has fuel tank plus fuel tank end caps kind of sticking haphazardly out of the side of things. That's we're gonna call that suboptimal. Hopefully that's okay. That's really weird. This is not the first time this has happened, I think, but yeah, not 100% sure what to do about that. Anyways, this module is the big hefty transfer stage and the Minmus hopper itself, as well as some support craft that we are taking down to the surface of Minmus. So we have 2 of these little support craft. These are tiny little landers that are going to drop down to the surface. They feature this experiment storage unit, which we're going to use to pick up all the science that we get on the surface of Minmus and then bring it back home without having to worry about sending our crew back, because they don't get to go home for a little while yet. I'm really concerned about these discs just kind of sticking out of the side. It's happening to pretty much all of my fuel tank plus tanks. I may have to stop using them if they keep doing this. I wonder if I can reload this. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. There we go. That seems to have done it. Alright, so anyways, we are just about coming into the sphere of influence of Minmus with our crewed lander. And this also has a hitchhiker storage module, which we are using to stash our intrepid Kerbals while they're on their journey, so that they have a little bit of a place to stretch their legs and so forth, so they're not cramped up in this admittedly enormous lander pod the entire time anyways, because it would not be very comfortable just sitting like this for a week while they wait for the how do they even see anything? This is such a strange IVA. But anyways, we wouldn't want them sitting here staring blankly at the wall until the rest of the modules come. So we are going to get them into a nice orbit. We are going to kick off our little satellites, and then we are going to sit and wait until the other modules are at least a little bit closer, because I'm not so sure how long their habitation and homesickness is going to last when they don't have this attached, because this is not coming with them down to the surface. Turn that off. Alright, and now we are, flipping around a little bit, and here is Minmus. So let's get ourselves into a nice equatorial orbit. Gonna need to increase our inclination just slightly. Don't think we're going to be able to quite get to 0 because we are currently below the equatorial plane, but we can get a little bit closer, so that we don't go spinning off into a funky orbit as soon as we arrive. Alright, coming in a little bit. So we see our landing site here, but we are not actually going to worry about that yet, because this is going to be rotating several times while we're waiting for the other modules to come, so there's no real reason to align ourselves or really worry in any real way about that quite yet. So here we are, just about into, what is that big, oh, okay, that's the, shoom, there we go. All right, so I was a little bit confused about what this big orange line is, and that is the path that we are going to take if I do not actually capture into this orbit. But we have plenty of fuel left on this transfer stage, so there's no worry of that. A little bit of a wiggle here. Maybe don't do it like that. Probably don't need this gimbal. In general, reaction wheels are so overpowered that we do not actually have to worry about gimbaled rockets if you've designed your craft with those reaction wheels in mind. And because this is something that I expect to do a lot of maneuvering and spinning around, I've definitely put a big reaction wheel on here so that we don't have to worry about that. All right, so there we go. So I think we can now just sit in orbit for a couple more days just to make sure that we are going to be fine when this thing decouples, and they'll have enough time to build their new home before they become homesick. So let's go ahead and start setting up at least some of these things so we can extend our lovely antenna here and turn on our narrowband scanner that's going to show us the various concentrations of resources that we have on the surface in the various biomes. The real tricky thing about setting up these bases is that not everything is all in the exact same spot. Alright, so let's go ahead and check the resource scanner. So when we get around, well, we're going to want to, well, we don't have anything rendezvousing, so this is actually fine. So we're just going to leave it like this, but we've got the resource scanner ready to go. We've got our solar plant panels deployed. We've got food. We've got, wait, we do have food, right? We did pack food. Okay, we have 23 days of food. That's fine. So we have everything we need to survive in orbit for a little bit of time. One thing that I did forget about is we are actually here to do some science. And this is, I know it's crazy, it's something we haven't done in a little while. But let's open up X Science and the lovely, lovely... Where's the here and now? Here and now, here it is. Ooh, they've even improved it. Neat. All right, so I think we're actually going to push ourselves out. We have a little bit of extra fuel, so let's push ourselves out into a high orbit around Minmus so we make sure that we capture the science, because this is something I forgot to do on our way in. So let's push ourselves up into a elliptical orbit, so we'll be kicking out a little ways, and then coming, falling right back. And let's capture some science. Crew report. Reminds us of our favorite childhood dessert. We will be tasting the surface soon enough. Temperature scan. Beautiful. Pressure scan. Instrument reads 0. It's as if we were in a vacuum. Indeed. And then mystery goo and materials study. Few of the samples have begun to glow. Maybe we should paint the rocket like this. Well, that would be a lovely mod, or a lovely, I'm sure that is already a mod, but that would be a lovely thing to add to the game, is the ability to paint your rockets different colors rather than just leave them the stock color. Some of the mods that I'm using, like Fuel Tanks Plus, for example, has some pretty cool additional meshes that you can use to change the color and the appearance of your fuel tanks, but it's very situational. Not all of the different parts has that capability and has to be added in specially. So that would be a very cool thing to have, I think. All right, so let's put all of the experiments into collect all. Boom. So they're all stashed in here. Very nice. Oh, look at that. There's another EVA report. I forgot I'm not actually using the mod that switches the EVA reports and the crew reports so that you don't have to jump out of your ship every time. So we have to jump out of our ship a bunch. But that is fine. We are doing it in the name of science. All right. So I don't actually have a science lab, but I do have a scientist. So Jai Kerman is going to jump right out and reset these things manually. So let's restore. It looks like we used the one on the back. Turn the lights on. Restore. Beautiful. Now we will have the chance to do yet more science. Wonderful. So let's whip around until we get to, oh dear. I guess this is how we're going to do this. So let's just grab, oh, did we lose it? I guess we lost it. Oh, more slopes. Come on, grab them. There we go. So yes, we'll be doing this dance of getting all the science we possibly can. And here we are, high over Minmus's lowlands. So we do this dance one more time. Keep all of this science, and then we're going to hop our scientist out. Grab that, stash it, and go reset our modules. Collect data. I guess I forgot to do that. Collect data and restore. Beautiful. So now we have lots and lots of lovely orbital science, which I suppose we could send back now. Well, that might be a fun thing to do while we're doing everything else. So let's container collect all the science. And then while we're waiting for the other modules, we can have a parallel mission of sending this one back home with the initial science reports. And then that will serve as our test to make sure that these things work. So as you see, I'm talking myself into this idea as we go. So let's save our game. Decouple. I do have an antenna on here, right? I do. It's stashed away in here, which should be plenty. Activate our little engines. Alright, beautiful. I think this thing is so neat. I love small craft. I find them to be just delightful and a lot more fun to make and play with than the really big stuff. Alright, so we're going to come around and not be able to make a maneuver node. Why for not able to make maneuver node? You're bumming me out. Well, let me just save and load real quick. We still cannot make a maneuver node with this probe. That is driving me crazy. Well, I think that's actually going to be fine. So let's, whoops. Here, let's just whip around. We can do this manually. This will be fine. So right about here, turn on our engines and begin to burn for home. Slowing ourselves down and coming back towards... Wow, a lot of things are not working here. Like I can't interact with any of these bits of UI. That is troubling. I guess we're going to have to just guess when we are close to as far in as we need to be. I don't like that one bit. Well, let's see. We've just about got that, and there we go. Well, that's going to be a little bit closer than we need, but that's probably fine. So let's head out of the sphere of influence of Minmus and carrying this initial load of science home. There we are. We are in orbit around Kerbin, and I still cannot make a node. I wonder if I'm breaking something. I don't see any issues. Yeah, I don't know. Very strange. It's in front of our periapsis. We're gonna give ourselves an additional 30 minutes before our periapsis around Kerbin, so that we have plenty of time to react. But just as our modules will be arriving, we will be sending home this probe. And this should have everything it needs to re-enter safely. And it has some solar panels on there to make sure it doesn't die on the trip. So, be safe on your way home, little probe. Alright, so we have here the base lander, which is coming in to the sphere of influence of Minmus. And kill this alarm clock. Beautiful. And we are just going to put, because this one is a little bit early compared to the other ones, we are going to get this one into orbit, and then we are going to actually commence our landing. And looks like we have our... Well, I still don't have the ability to make maneuver nodes. I'm not sure what is going on with that. Something must have broken with that... that probe that I launched. It must have broke something with the game. I may need to reload entirely. Well, let's F5 and I'll be right back. Okay, I have reloaded my game, and let's see if we can actually set maneuver nodes. Hooray! Whatever I broke with that probe seems to have been fixed with a simple IT trick of have you tried turning it on and off again. Alright, so let's circularize this orbit, because I am not quite ready to put this down direct. And this thing actually has a ton of fuel, so this should be, famous last words, but this should be fine. We should be able to futz around a bit without any issues. But after this, I think we're going to put down our hopper and get things moving as far as getting our people down to the ground and doing science. Three, two, one, burn. This is such a funky ship. I like this, I like these Skycrane engines that Rover Dude has created. I find them incredibly useful for exactly this sort of thing. Go figure, I find that the Skycrane part makes it easy to make Skycranes. Alright, so we are in a good orbit, and I can just leave that there for now. So we have 1 day to go until the Crane lander enters the sphere of influence of Minmus, and we have a day and 2 hours until the colony box gets here, day and 5 hours until the horizontal modules get here, so I think it is in fact time to land our hopper. Okay, so here we are coming down over Gwennet's Hindsight is the name of our landing zone apparently. So let's make our plan to reach that. So what we're going to want to do is lower our orbit so that it's just above the surface. And then when we get around, we're actually going to tweak our final approach because we are in a bad place to change our inclination relative to this site. It's going to, it just kind of wiggles around because we are on almost the exact opposite side of the body from it. So let's do that. Then we are just going to whip around. There, and bring that down just above the surface so that we spend as little as possible of our fuel, which is not something we need. We are not actually cutting a very tight margin on this particular landing, but it's good. It's good practice. So let's come in around here, around the side. There we go. Now we are close to the ascending or descending node with relation to our landing site. So actually burning normal will push our orbit line straight up so that we will cross over the landing site that we are looking for here. And perfect. There we go. So this area I have determined has all the resources that we need in a very close area, but this area itself is a slope, like a really bad slope. So I'm gonna try to land up here. Let me actually push this right back up the way I came, but we want to go up on that ridge overlooking this slope to see if we can't get the best possible location as far as resources, and then we can find a good flat space for our base. We need a confluence of all of those things at once. It's an interesting dance, the way that you need to kind of stand up this whole thing all simultaneously to make this work in an optimal fashion. I'm sure that there are better ways of doing this than what I'm doing, but this is what makes sense to me, so we're going to go with it and see what happens. Alright, so when I mentioned that that was a slope, I apparently was not kidding. Look at that. That is just a massive amount of, looks like land that has just fallen straight down into the flats somewhere. Alright, so let us begin our descent, and then realize that I have forgotten to do anything about this little guy. Well, this is fine. This will be fine. Yeah, it'll be fine, sure. So I'm going to do something silly in my attempt to rescue this little lander here. Because I had intended to just ditch this stage, this hitchhiker, and let this smash into the ground, but maybe instead we'll land, either we will land gently, which I think we have the fuel for, or alternatively, I can push myself in a slightly upwards trajectory and then switch to this and land this thing. But I think what is going to be the easiest for me right now is just to try to set this whole silly thing down, because it looks like we have a pretty... I was a little bit more forgiving a second ago, but let's see if we can't get to a place with a... Hopefully this slope is not too bad. Nobody's in here, right? Okay, stop habitat. How do you guys feel about that? Okay, 12 days. Perfect. Perfect. Alright, so here is actually what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do that silly thing that I'd mentioned. I'm going to ditch this stage rather than try to land it. I'm going to push this one up. We're going to decouple this. Fire them engines. And then push this thing down. Go down, get down. Put out your landing gear and go. Now slow down. And landed. Beautiful. I can't believe that worked as well as it did. Alright, similarly, now we are just going to kick this off, deploy, Ooh, that thing's coming down heavy now. Kaboom! Hey, the hitchhiker storage survived, so if we absolutely need to, we can use that as a little landing pod or something. I think the SAS is still working because it's kind of sticking up weirdly. There we go, now it's all settled down to the ground. Well, we can use that debris. And here we are. Extend the solar panel. Extend our solar panels so that we have at least that. And we have 5 hours now to explore and do our science. And we have this little guy right here, which is going to sit and wait and be a useful little experiment storage unit for later on. Beautiful. Awesome. And science here and now tells us we have all kinds of fun things to collect. So let's get a crew report. Temperature scan. Atmospheric pressure scan. Goo. Material study. And the new one for us is the seismic scan. Faint seismic waves are detected. I can't imagine it's because I've been smashing things into the surface. Alright, unfortunately I don't think I actually have a collect. No, I don't. I'm actually going to have to grab these manually, old school style. Didn't think that part all the way through, I suppose. Well, let's grab an EVA report. New situation landed at Minmus's Midlands. Surface sample. Plant a flag. Minmus touchdown. Not sure if we're actually going to use this location, so let's not get all excited about naming it quite yet. We are here for the science. Let's grab on here. Send out J. Kerman. Let's make sure that we are grabbing everything. All right, so now we have a couple missions. We want to explore a couple of the biomes that are near us, because I believe there are several. There's at least the flats down here. We're on the Midlands, and then there will also be a slope somewhere in between us. All of these things are going to provide us with some additional science, which is good. We are also looking for... we brought this narrowband scanner so we can use CurbNet, which unfortunately when we are landed has a ridiculously high field of view, so we can't actually see anything at this point, except I think the point directly below us, which should be helpful. So I'm hoping that this points very precisely to exactly where we are so that we can get a good reading of the materials underneath us, because we are going to be checking in a couple different places for the resources that we need to get this base set up. And the surface scanning module unhelpfully only tells us resource analysis performed. It only tells us ore, but it does tell us very precisely how much ore there is, which I guess is nice. So refresh. Let's see, we've got dirt. Of course we have dirt. Everywhere has dirt. This entire planet is dirt. Exotic minerals we do not have. That's something that is very near us, but we don't have here. Gypsum we don't have. That's down to the southeast. This is why I wanted to build in this area, because you can see that we're pretty close. Here, what I can actually do a little bit better, I think, is if I land, or if I take off and I just kind of hover, I can refresh and bring this up to really see what's going on. Let's see. Gypsum. Well, we're on the only patch that does not have gypsum, it looks like. But the slopes has tons of it. Yeah, let's kill this lateral velocity I seem to have picked up. Just stay put. We need to do a little bit of aerial science here, apparently. Stay put. There, that'll do. Okay, so now we can actually take a moment to look. So we've got gypsum, hydrates, carbonite. Looks like we have small amounts of materials in this this flat area, which is going to be what's out here. But the really good concentrations are down on this hill. I'm picking up speed. Carborundum, we didn't expect any of that here anyways, that's fine. Metallic ore is down on the slope. Minerals are in a band directly near us, like a little bit south, a little bit east. So there's just a band of that here. And then monazite, whatever that is. Rare metals is in this band as well. Substrate is all over the place, which is good. That's one of the key elements we're going to need in our farming operation. Uraninite. Water, there's of course none of that, and plenty of ore in this area as well. Silicates here, so I think what we need to do is we need to get into this band, I think, because if we can go like right here... Where is that? There it is. Activate navigation. Let's head over to that right now and see how this goes. Because it seems like a lot of the resources are overlapping in that area. There we go. We are coming over. Oops. That is not a good name for that. Flip it around. And here we go. We're coming down on top of this. Slope is still pretty heavy, so this is not as good as it could be, but I guess it could be a lot worse as well. All right. So a good amount of silicates where we are. Alumina, dirt, exotic minerals are just north. Gypsum is just south. Hydrates, carbonite, metallic ore, minerals. Oh no, careful. Please be careful. Well, this is tough, but I think this is a good area. I think we can get probably put some precarious mining rigs in this area right here. Build our farm and main area here, and our storage and logistics buildings and so forth. We can have and then some other miners we can range out this way if they need to. So I think this is a pretty decent central location, and looks like we are at the slope, so let's get some more science. All right, so now it's just a matter of getting all the other components down and starting construction on our base, but I think we are all out of time. So I will see you in the next episode.